Now imagine you're a fan of a franchise. You could be a longtime fan, consuming the media since you were a little homunculus. Or maybe you're even a new fan who just got into the series. Maybe you're watching a game show to see any new releases for said franchise. Or maybe one morning you look at YouTube and there it is recommended. A new game for the franchise you love. You're hyped. The whole community is hyped. You spend your days watching theory videos on the game. Daily news waiting for the game to come out. Everyone in the community is saying this game is going to be the best in the series. The wait is a massive burden on you. You spend your days in school discussing about it with your friends. You can't stop thinking about it at your shift at work. You're so excited for the game, you pre-order the digital deluxe edition of the game, which only costs you $100 of your hard-earned money. Finally, months pass. You get off your school bus or you drive home from work, you boot up whatever console you own, and finally the wait is over. You download the game, you get ready to play it, you spend a couple hours playing it, and
it's the biggest piece of dog shit that I have ever heard.
I mean, don't get me wrong, it is a video game, but it's not the video game you and the community were promised. And worst of all, you spent $100 of your hard-earned money on it. This and many other reasons I will discuss in the video is why I believe buying video games at launch isn't as simple as it should be.
And say, this is fucked, this is not right, this is not cool. This is fucking bullshit.
Now, by no means am I going to be the doom and gloom spreader of the gaming industry is cooked. We live in society of release quickly and patch later. When that is just not the case for most games. It's one of those things where when it does happen, it's just kind of blown out of proportion when it's just a single game title. Like for every Suicide Squad, South Park Snow Day, and Star Wars Outlaws, there's a Black Myth, Wukong, Astro Bot, and Helldivers 2. But that still doesn't mean they don't exist. One of the games I think about this personally happened to me was Dragonball Sparking Zero.
I like Dragon Ball. Maybe a bit too much.
Dragon Ball Sparking Zero was the first Dragon Ball game as a fan where I was around for the launch cycle. And the hype around this game was unreal. I'm not much of a fighting game guy, but the idea of being able to have dramatic, down-to-the-wire fights seems so much fun to me. I even planned on making so much content for this game. Like, we had this one idea where we would do theme team battles where me and a group of friends would voice the characters, or even a big 100-hour video I was working on. I was so excited to make content about this game that I made a whole Dragon Ball intro. The community at the time was hyped. Just going back to look at the comments from the initial reveal trailer fills me with envy for a simpler time. Then the game came out and it had enough steam for a month, then it just kinda dropped off. The story mode was mid, electing to do a slideshow for the story. And at launch, I defended this because the game revolves around fighting and not going through the Dragon Ball story for the 1000th time. But then later I learned that characters were just straight up missing story pieces. They just skipped over Tournament 6 entirely for Goku. Vegeta doesn't even have any super content, electing to just end it at Z. But the one saving grace I was defending at launch was the what if mode. What ifs are by far some of the most popular fan content to make here on YouTube about Dragon Ball. You can find what ifs for almost any concept Dragon Ball related. So getting a Dragon Ball what if in an official game is an insane concept. Granted, the earlier series kind of did that already, but this was my first Dragon Ball game, so just shut up. And fortunately, there are some really cool what ifs found in game. Goku and Gohan are really cool, where on Gohan, the story deviates to have Gohan Black, a completely new and original concept for the official series to acknowledge. Most of the other ones are like, what if Goku won? What if Frieza just straight up fucking killed them? The online was super laggy and inconsistent. You would think I was playing on a Google slideshow instead of a $70 game. And the new content they made where you can make your own sparking episodes are kinda mid. Getting the responses that you actually want can take up to about 20 minutes, and it's only because of a fan website it actually makes these things bearable to make. Not to mention that they just straight up lied in the promotion. They showed off all of these cool customizations for characters and they would have all these cool alternate costumes, but there is no customization here in game. You know shit is cooked when one of the most downloaded mods is a character customizer. Not to mention that there was only 12 maps at launch. So what did Bandai do to fix these problems? Did they add? Yeah, I'm not gonna do this bullshit. They did fucking nothing. They didn't add any new maps or add any parts of the story. The meta revolves around backshots, and if you get hit, good luck. You might as well just put down the controller and hope the opponent misplays. It would take about a solid 30 years to get a match on PC. Oh, but Conrad's Crib, the game works great on Xbox. Shut up! Thank you so much. I'm not gonna spend another $500 on an Xbox and spend another $70 on this game just to get servers with people in it. You know what would fix this? There's this little feature that's been around since 2002. It's called crossplay. But what has Bandai been doing this whole time, is what the community asked. Surely they must be cooking. No, they were spending their time making all the textures in the game worse for a fucking Switch port. Because fuck you, I guess. You know, it's it's only $70. At least I didn't spend $100 on it. Sparking Zero isn't even that bad of a game. It's just like a 7 out of 10. The worst part is that there's just so much potential in it, and it just hurts the fact that I was a day one backer. Also, sometimes at launch, the game is just so full of bugs, it's pretty much unplayable. The strategy with games is to just wait a couple months or a year and it's a masterpiece. I know this is true for Cyberpunk 2077, where at launch people were clowning on it, but after a year of development and a fire show, they were able to pull it around, and people I know have told me it's a genuinely good game now. The games I just mentioned had some potential, but some games are just... There's a difference between a bad game and a rushed one. One of them could be cool if I had more time, and the other one could be cool if you started over and wrote it off as a tax write-off. Or in Wether Brothers' case, it just has to exist to be a tax write-off. One example of this is Sonic 06 to Sonic Forces. Sonic 06 has some cool levels in it, it's just the game is, well, Sonic 06, and it had the potential to be something cool. It's just that Sega was Sega.
I'm putting you out to work the field!
But Sonic Forces is actually kind of dog shit, and in order to fix the game, you would need to redesign whole levels for it to be an actually competent video game. For most games, you could get a good idea based on the trailers of how high of quality they are, but that's not always the case. One way you can tell how good a game is based on game reviewers who get the game earlier than you. But most reviewers like IGN are just an awful way and are very inconsistent on the games they review. You could see a review for a game on Metacritic, however, it's just not very consistent because the people who review the game are different people and have different tastes. Most importantly, you are your own individual with your own traits, with your own likes, your own dislikes. Most people could find joy in a game, but you might not be able to. At the same time, a whole community could still be in the honeymoon with the phase where the game is actually the greatest shit in the world, but then a month later it's dead. And especially now that you're an adult who has to pay big boy taxes, you don't really get the money to be wasting on some dog shit slop. It's almost just better to wait till an almost definitive community opinion is out. But sometimes, even though the game looks awful and the trailers show you nothing, you're a dedicated fan and you still buy the game. Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. Pokemon Buggy Diamond and Shitting Pearl were revealed on February 26th of 2021, and me and the community's reactions were really bad. Everyone thought this game looked stupid. Well, everyone with a working brain cell. This game could also be pushed into the glitches category because it did have an insane amount of bugs at launch. But at the same time, the glitches are kind of what made this game popular in the beginning. Out of all of the funny glitches, you could teleport into the champion's room and getting Darkrai and Shaman early. Eventually, they did remove these in patches, but when you polish a turd, there's just more turd underneath. Then while playing, you realize I spent $60 over this. I'll go over this briefly, but it's been discussed plenty of times on the internet. This game is a heartless remaster for Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. They don't feature any quality of life changes except for when they do, but then they also don't have any new parts except for where they don't. The scaling and difficulty is atrocious. It has something like you walk in the middle of the flatlands and out of nowhere there's a giant mountain that comes. The game is just somehow so devoid of life. Why didn't they just do Platinum, the superior version of Diamond and Pearl that came out 2 years later, making Diamond and Pearl obsolete? Wait, why wouldn't you just wait for Platinum?
I'm stronger. I'm smarter. I'm better. I am better!
A better version of a game, or a definitive version of a game, is when a game comes out, it's good, people like it, and then a couple years later, a definitive version of said game comes out. And it's just better in every single way. The version that is the old version is called Vanilla, because I guess vanilla is basic. Some examples of this are Persona 5 to Persona 5 Royale, Ghost of Tsushima to Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut, Last of Us like a gajillion times. I would feel absolutely scammed if I bought a vanilla version of a game, and then a couple weeks later, a definitive version comes out. What, you expect me to cut to a case of when this happened? Well, it didn't, because I had that foresight, baby. Shin Megami Tensei 5. I got into the Shin Megami Tensei series after playing Persona 5 Royale. And when SMT 5 came out, I was excited like anyone else in the community. So why did I wait? Well, you see, Shin Megami Tensei games are just not the type of game you can pick up and put down. They are a 100-hour RPG experience where you can get fucked and lose hours of progress. They're also so hard that you need to get into a fusion lab and combine all your demons to truly cook for the next boss fight. That's the reason why I like SMT, is spending a whole lot of time preparing for a boss fight so that way I can beat their demon ass. It's like drugs when you're playing an SMT game. When I'm at work, I'm thinking about SMT. When I'm running, I'm thinking about SMT. When I'm sleeping, I think about SMT. When I'm playing SMT, I think about how much I hate the game. But like I mentioned, they take about 100 hours on average to beat. So imagine getting into the game 3 years later. So imagine you're surprised when you go onto YouTube the next day and you see that they're making a definitive version of the game that's on more than just the Nintendo Switch, has a complete completely new storyline, improved a lot of shit, and made all of the DLC you paid for in the last game free, and it's the exact same price. I'm not gonna buy Persona 6 when it comes out because, newsflash, a better version will come out a couple of years later for the exact same price. Now for this, you can do the proper research and figure out what type of company is most likely to do it. Sega is a massive one who does it and will probably do it until the end of time. Square Enix also does it with some Final Fantasy games, Sony with anything that becomes popular, and Capcom, who always releases ultimate versions of games. But what if you just want to save?
Here comes the money.
Yes. The big green. The key to eternal happiness. The only thing that makes peace. You work for hours at a dead-end boring job for it. Money. The simple fact is, buying games at launch, you could just wait a bit to get them cheaper. An early example was SMT5 Vengeance. This was $60 at launch, but due to the power of waiting a year, I can get the digital deluxe version for half of that. It's just simple. Just wait a long time and get the game cheap. But you also might not need to buy the game at launch because it could just come out on Game Pass, or a couple of months or a couple years later come out on PS Plus. If you're a PC gamer, Epic Games gives out 2 free games a month. I bought Jurassic World Evolution only for the next day for it to come out free on Epic Games. Don't got a lot of section for this section. It's just money. What can we do as gamers? If we don't buy games at launch and wait for them to go on sale, then companies would catch on. My suggestion is not really good. Buy the games for the people you want to support, and if you think the game will be good. Silksong just recently came out and it's only $20. Team Cherry truly cares about the community and have spent the last couple of years trying to deliver on it. They easily could have made the game $50 to $60 and people still would have bought it, but they didn't because they're not a greedy company who only cares about bigger numbers and better quotas. Some companies just don't care about the communities. They don't see games as passion products, they see them as dollar bills. Sometimes though, buying a game at launch is more than just hype or waiting for it to go on sale. It's wanting to give love and support to the devs who truly deserve it. Maybe Deltarune would go on sale like 2 years from now, but that doesn't matter to me. What mattered was supporting a creator who poured their heart and soul into a game and gave me the privilege of being able to experience it. Far Cry 0 might have made bank, and if they do a sequel, I'm sure they'll make a lot more money. But unless this game gets a total and complete overhaul, and they truly learn to care about their community, they lost a customer right here. End of the video spiel, 20 seconds. Go buy Cursed by Death. Cursed by Death. It's on Barnes & Nobles. It's pretty cheap. Go buy it. My friend who's on the cross-country team in college, she wrote this book. She wrote a book. Go buy it. I'm not officially sponsored. She has not given me money, but I want to shout her out, so go buy the book.